This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, discounted prices, miniaturemarket.com.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we're going to find ourselves in all sorts of different groves or plantations where we're putting in citrus trees like lemon trees or orange trees, and then we're going to be harvesting those for points and money. Today we're taking a look at the game Citrus. It is a tile laying game that came out in Europe a few years ago, but now is being brought to wider distribution by Tasty Minstrel Games. The game is 2 to 5 players, takes anywhere between 30 and an hour to play. Let me show you how it plays, and I'll see you on the other side. Finca can be played in 3 ways: a family game, a shorter game, or a longer game. The board is double-sided. This side is for the shorter game. It's a little bit smaller of a board, and it's best for 2 to 3 players and plays a little bit faster than the longer game. Over the course of the game, the main way you'll get points is by having area majorities around certain fincas. For example, whoever has the most majority here will get 10 points, second place will get 4 points, and the game here starts with 3 fincas already there showing you which ones get you how many points if you'll have the most area control around them. The mechanisms of the game are very simple. Everyone starts with 6 workers of their color, in this case red, and they all start with $6. You literally only have 2 choices on your turn. One of the choices is to build. To build, you're going to come to this market and you're going to buy a certain amount of tiles. By the way, this market is picked out randomly from a bag full of tiles that you'll be placing on here at the beginning of the game and at certain times throughout the game. And you'll notice these have arrows here. Now to buy, you're going to look at any single row or column and you're going to buy all of them for 1 gold for each of those. So for example, if I wanted to buy these 3 tiles, I have to buy all or none of them. This is $3 because I would take all 3. But maybe I just want to get these 2. So I could spend 2 and I would get these 2 tiles. And you have to be able to afford them to be able to buy them. I had 6 and so now I'm down to 4. And not only do you have to be able to pay for them, you also have to be able to have the workers to be on them as well. So you can either start a new plantation, and the way this works is I could place this here and I would need to place one of my workers on here. I'm going to place it like that so it's a little bit easier to see. Now each finca can only have 1 color coming from each of its 4 sides. So because that is purple, another player could now not play another purple one just like that because 4 different colors have to be coming out from that. So I could place this one here like this, and if I wanted to, I could maybe start a new one over here like this, because this one does not yet have a purple color, so I could build it like that, but I had to use up 2 workers. Or, if I wanted to, instead of spending another worker, I could add to a plantation I already have. Like I could add it like this, and now this is becoming bigger. This is the size of 2 with my worker. Now, anytime you go over one of these special tiles, you get an ability. And these are randomly placed out at the beginning of the game. This just says +3 money. So when I get this could go in front of me, and at any time on my turn, I could spend this, remove it from the game, and I would gain 3 currency on my board. Now this is interesting because I already have an interesting choice. I could just put this here. Now knowing that the majority, if I have the most around here when this total finca is surrounded by tiles, I would get 10 points. This one's only worth 8. However, if I didn't want to go here, I could build this one like this and build the second one here. This goes face down, and at the end of the game, it's going to get me 4 points. So even if I don't get the big majority, or even if I do, I'll be ahead. So maybe I do that. So as you can see, even from my first turn, there's some interesting decisions to make, even though it has simple mechanisms. Now as the game goes on and different players are building there, you'll see that this player built here, but then continued to build this way. Just like this player was able to build this way, and this one sort of built this way. And you'll notice that this one actually has red coming from these 2 spots on the 2 different fincas, purple here and green here. And that's a cool way to be able to use less workers and be more efficient, but covering more ground. And now these people are all in the hunt for 2 different fincas with just 1 worker. Now let's say this blue player here builds like this. And now anytime a finca is completely surrounded by tiles, or if it's on the edge of the board, anything that's around it, it scores. And we look at who has the most. This player has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This player has 4. This player has 3. And this player has 1. And so this here, we have this player wins with 5, this one has 4. So this player is going to get the bigger of the points, 8, and this player is going to get the second most, which is 6, and they get those points right away. If they were tied, both players get the top one, but nobody gets second place. Now I mentioned there's two things you can do on your turn. We've already talked about build. Let's talk about the other one, which is harvest. Let's say this red player is here on these orange tiles, and they think this blue player is just going to continue to get the control of this and get this big points, and this is a big point disparity. So this player wants to harvest, and let's just say they're low on money too as well. So what they do is they harvest. They pull this off, and they get 1 point for each of the tiles that are normal and 2 points that have a well on it. So here they would have gotten 3 points immediately. And as you're building, you're pulling workers off from the right, but as you're harvesting, you're putting them back to the right, and you get the amount of money that's just to the right of that the last worker that you just placed. So here I would get 7 income. So it'd go all the way up just like that. And that's sort of how the currency versus points versus going to area control or going for money harvesting works in the game. Another aspect of the game is how new Fincas come out. Now, anytime when somebody takes a tile, there's 3 or less left there, that player is going to take this Finca on the top, and they're going to place it in any of the 3 areas that have a marker. So everyone knew that one of these 3 areas was going to be the one. So people could have been planning earlier and trying to get over here or placing in this area to try to do it so that, you know, maybe this player here, this red player is like, oh, I'm kind of close to getting a bunch over here. Let's say that player was the one to trigger it, and they put the Finca there. And then a random letter would be drawn, and it would be placed on that Finca. So now you always know which one of the 3 places where the next Finca will be when they come out. And then this would get refilled from the bag. And this will continue until all the plantation tiles from the bag for the game have been built. At that point, you would score. Even the Fincas that aren't done yet, you would score whoever has the most, and that player would get the lower of the 2. Second place gets nothing in this case. If it's tied, those players both get that lower amount. And then people are going to harvest their workers and score as a normal harvest. And then players are going to add points from some of the different tiles that they may have gotten throughout the game. Whoever has the most at the end is the winner. Some of these other tiles do different things, like bridges you can build over rocks, which are on the long side of the board, or over neutral territories that are there. Here you can get a marker tile and place it. Here you can actually use it to cause a Finca to score, but it stays there and other people can build on it, and it can change hands throughout the game. So there's some of the different abilities that go on throughout the game. Well, there is Citrus. Now, I played this game a couple years ago and really fell in love with it for one main reason and many other reasons. This game has what I call a huge depth to complexity ratio. I talk about this a lot in my reviews. This game has simple mechanisms, but great depth. So, you know, my depth to complexity ratio is how deep can a game be with how simple of the rule set can it be. So the more simple the rule set and the greater depth, the better that ratio. I don't like games to be complex just for the sake of being complex. I don't mind complex games if, because of that complexity, it becomes, you know, exponentially more deep. But I like games, my favorites are the ones that have simple rules but are also very deep, and this is one of those things. I mean, you have agonizing decisions this entire game. I mean, you're literally just doing 1 or 2 things. You're either buying plantation tiles and building them, or you're harvesting them for points. Literally, you have 2 choices on your turn. But man, the breadth of the depth of those choices is so agonizing. Whether you're gonna harvest them for the money and the points, or you're gonna be staying there to try to get the big points for having the majority of certain areas of the Fincas, and trying to figure out, when do you do that? Should I pull this guy? Do I have any chance of getting this majority or not? Can I just get them back and get some money so I can get things moving somewhere else? And I like that, managing that money and the harvesting, because, you know, if you build things, you've got to be able to pay for it. And so you're trying to figure out, can I afford these next 3 tiles? Probably. If not, then I'm gonna need to harvest something. Now, which one should I harvest? Which one should I just give up on? So you're constantly trying to manage money and points and area control. It's just a beautifully elegant design. I think that word gets used a little too often in board gaming, but this definitely is that. You know, the designer, Jeffrey D'Allers, is an amazing, probably one of the most underrated designers out there. He did another game a while back that's little known called Heartland, which I just absolutely love. Has another, you know, similar thing. So he's one of my favorite designers, and he's not as well known as I think he should be. So another thing I like is, the area majorities, the way that this works is it sort of happens sort of in an abstracted way with the tile laying. And I love tile laying games, but in this it's sort of abstracted where you're trying to place tiles of the same color, and if you can, you know, try to get things and block other people off, and do things like that. Now, it can be a pretty mean game, but I like that aspect of it. And I like that you're trying to build sometimes to connect to adjacent plantations. And, you know, each of those plantations in the normal game can only have 1 color of each coming from its 4 sides. And, if you have, let's say, the yellow lemon ones on one, and you can kind of sort of bring that over to another Finca and make that work, then you can just have one worker on there be on both of those. And so it's going to be more efficient for you. So it's fun to kind of figure out and see if you can work some of that in, because you're going to be more efficient, you're going to make more money, you have to use less workers, and you can be doing other things. I love the drafting of that market board, the way that works where you take all of the ones in the row or the column. And it's really cool because you can be looking at what other people are working on, and you can look at what, how much money they have, and you could do some of that hate drafting where you're looking at the next player going, they only got 2 coins. If I take these 2, the only thing that's left are a bunch of 3s, they're going to be forced to harvest. Let's force them into a tough decision. And so sometimes you don't just get what you want, you get what's going to force somebody else to do something they don't want to do. A really interesting part of this is that drafting. Also, while you're drafting that, it's the timing of triggering those new Finca replacements is important in this game, because anytime you get, I think it's to 3 or less tiles on that market board, well, you get to decide which of the spaces, the possible spaces out there, is where that Finca is going to go. And that's a lot of times huge, because you can set that up and start working on it right away. You can put it in an area that you already have, it's close to something that you're already working on. And that's really huge. So the timing of that is interesting too, because when you're drafting, it's like, ooh, if I do this, then they can do that and trigger that. Let's see if I just take something smaller and it might come back to me and I might be able to trigger it, or maybe I'll just harvest this turn because I want to be able to see if I can trigger that myself as it comes around. So a lot of, again, depth of the easy choices here are really playing its way in here. I like the special ability tiles. Some of them just give you points, but other ones allow you to do different things. And I like that because, and they're also, randomized each game, and they're in different spots. So the game has a lot of replayability, which Fincas come out and where they are. When they come out is randomized each game, so that's kind of a cool thing too. I also like that they offer a short, a long, or a family game. And so really they're offering you the breadth. People that like longer games, go ahead with the long one. If you want to make it easier and not have to be so stringent on which colors go where, you can use the family game or the short game. So overall, I love this game. It's so good. It's one of those Euros I don't think got nearly enough attention, and I hope that this coming out from TMG will give it that. Anything that I didn't like or anything I think that could be improved in this game. I felt, and one of the pros I just mentioned was it offered different play lengths. Personally, I felt the long game felt a little long for what it is. The box says 50 minutes, and from what I've read online, you're supposed to be able to play the short game in 30 to 40 minutes. The long game, you're supposed to kind of always play with 4 or 5 players, and it's only supposed to take 50 to 60 minutes. I found that even the short game for me takes about 50 minutes to play, which for me is the right length for this game. Sure, if you play with 4 or 5 players, even on the short map, you're not going to have as many turns, and it might feel a little abrupt. But I felt like that tightness I liked better than having it overstay its welcome a little bit. So the long game is a little long for me, but for other players, if you like the longer things, you might like that better. Also, anything else that can make it even better? Sure, there's no player aids for the special ability tiles. Now, there's only really 4 of them, I think, to remember. And once you've played the game once, you know what they are. But it would be good to help newer players just to have a little thing of what those abilities do. Because a lot of times you are looking at the things, you're looking at where your plantations are, you're looking at the board going, I could go this way, move over here to get this ability, or I can move over this one. Now, what do these 2 do again? So it would have been nice just to have a little player aid for those ability tiles, but that's it. The game is fantastic. It's amazing, and I'm keeping it in my gaming library for sure, and it's getting a saxophone serenade, so here we go.
This video was sponsored by Miniature Market's Review Corner. The Review Corner features podcasts, video, and written game reviews by gamers for gamers. Miniature Market, the online gaming superstore. Thousands of board games, discounted prices. Check them out at miniaturemarket.com.